Salford, Salford, Salford. What are we doing? What is this dance we've got going on? What is this toxic relationship that we're building? The instructions are very clear. If I predict that you're going to lose a game, the instruction is simple.
You lose! Good day, sir!
And that's it. You lose. Good day, sir. And we move on to the next week. If I've got you losing to Warrington, I put a nice lovely tick next to Warrington and we move on with a 6 out of 6. But you need to stop messing me up with these. Thank you kindly. If I say you're going to win a game against a team that you should be beating, the last thing you should be doing is losing. Okay? So what I tell you to do, you just do it. Stop trying to be weird. Stop trying to make me look stupid, okay? I've had enough. This is too toxic now. I've had enough. Sort it out. Hey guys, my name is Rob. Welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. In this video, I'll be giving you my Super League Round 16 predictions. So I'll leave a recap of last week's predictions up on the screen for you now. And as you can see, I was correct with Hull KR, Wigan, Warrington and Catalans, incorrect with Leigh and Saints. So far in the season, that's 67 out of 90, giving me 74.44%. Still aiming for 80%. Looking for another 6 out of 6 week, which I've not had for a little while, I don't think. But let's crack on with the first game. Kicking off round 16, we have Wigan Warriors taking on Leigh Leopards, starting with league position. Wigan sit in first, Leigh sit in ninth. In terms of recent form, Wigan have won 5 in their last 5 Super League games. Leigh have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games. And for my power rankings, I have Wigan in first and Leigh in 6th. For player availability, Field is still going to be out for Wigan. Leeming and Wardle are both to be confirmed this week. For the side of Leigh, Holmes and O'Brien both to be confirmed, but I think O'Brien has a good chance of being picked, but we will see. Wigan, solid effort against London Broncos, and again, I know it's only London, but teams should be commended for keeping teams to 0, because even London has troubled some teams with their attack at times. Even without Field, Farriman did a great job filling in that role, had some really exciting moments, so really happy for him. Hopefully he's picked again, because I want to keep seeing young English players, well, assuming he's English, coming through the system and, showing the next generation what we've got. On the side of Leigh, they have actually had some decent defensive performances over the last couple of weeks, to be fair. Some really gritty defensive efforts. In attack, it can be a little bit hit and miss. Leeds really showed us that a lot of grit and determination can help shut Leigh down. It was a brilliant display. Wigan probably won't need to rely so much on that, and they'll just be technically gifted to keep Leigh out enough. I do think this will be relatively low scoring, just because Wigan will be strong enough defensively against Leigh, and I think Leigh will have at least some decent resistance against Wigan, who will still, by the way, have to get used to life without Jay Field for the next couple of weeks or months. I'm not sure exactly how long he's out for, but I think Wigan should still be comfortable in this game. But even with Farriman in there, or Hampshire, again, I'd still like Farriman, but with either of those in there, it will still result in a slight disconnect in their usual structure, but over time that will improve. So there will still be some issues with it, and Leigh are a much better team than London, as we know. They will find ways to shut them down a little bit more than London did. So I think relatively low scoring, but still fairly comfortable for Wigan, based on recent form and just overall quality. So I'm going to go with Wigan Warriors 24, Leigh Leopards 10. Next up, we have St Helens taking on Castleford Tigers. Starting with league position, Saints sit in 2nd, Castleford sit in 10th. For recent form, Saints have won 4 in their last 5. Castleford have only won 1 in their last 5 in Super League. And on my power rankings, I have Saints in 2nd, Castleford in 10th. For player availability, there's no Walmsley, Batchelor and Makinson for Saints. Knowles and Lomax are both expected to be in this week, I believe. And for Castleford, there's no Lewis Senior, McShane's to be confirmed, and Tex Hoy should be available for selection. I can't remember what the injury was. I want to say it was his ankle, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. So, Saints, in their game against Salford, that could have gone either way. I'm not really down on Saints at the moment. I think they came up against a Salford team that's on really good form at the moment and is playing to a pretty high level. Saints, I think, will still be fine in a game like this. Castleford did a great job to make it really tough for Hull KR last time out. I think they will struggle against Saints. Not that they can't compete, because I think they can. with Miller in there, with potentially McShane, I don't think he's going to be available, but we'll have to see. But with Tex Hoy in there as well, he's their main guy now. So I can see Castleford putting up points. Saints aren't immune to conceding points as well. They do have their flaws defensively. They can be a little bit slow off the mark. When they don't have that defensive line speed, they can be broken down on the edges. And Tex Hoy will just completely run away with that if Saints aren't quick with their defensive line speed. But St Helens seem to be on the right track at the moment. As I said, could have gone either way against Salford, but were just beaten by a strong team on the day. Saints should be fine. I think there'll be a small handful of points from Cass. Saints will still be comfortable. And there's not really too much else to say on this one. I know there's the potential of Lomax and Knowles being in there, but with or without them, I still see it going relatively the same way. I think Mbai has added a new level of speed. I think Lomax is more about the structure, Mbai is more about the speed. And that seems to have worked fairly well over the last couple of weeks for St Helens. So if Castleford can make it a tough one like they did against Hull KR, then maybe there's an upset in there, but I really don't see it. So I'm going to go with St Helens 28, Castleford Tigers 12. Next up we have Warrington Wolves taking on Huddersfield Giants, starting with league position. Warrington sit in 4th, Huddersfield sit in 8th. For recent form, Warrington have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games, Huddersfield have won 1 in their last 5 Super League games. And for my power rankings, I have Warrington in 5th, Huddersfield in 9th. For player availability, there's no Hayes or Philbin for Warrington. Hayes is out for the season, I think. Philbin's round 21, I want to say. Fitzgibbon and Crowther are both expected to be selected this week, and Ashton is to be confirmed with a back injury. On the side of Huddersfield, Yates should be available for selection, and then there's Swift, Murchie and Cudjoe are all to be confirmed. Not too sure if any of them are likely this week, but we'll have to wait and see. Warrington have been really, really sluggish the past 3 weeks. It's not been good. That's the Challenge Cup final, that's against Salford, and then last round against Hull FC. For me, the most important difference between the Salford game and the Hull game was George Williams. Without him, there is the potential for a disaster. And I think him and Dufty have really built that rapport. So Dufty wasn't really included in the Salford game much. But when he was linking up with Williams, opportunities arose. So the most important thing for Warrington is having George Williams in there. So whilst we're going through this slump at the moment, it's basically relying on individuals. And I think, fortunately, coming up against a Huddersfield team that's pretty inconsistent at the moment on both sides of the ball, Huddersfield do know how to spread the ball around. Like on the last tackle, if they're in the opponent's half, they know how to attack the edges and try and play a little bit off the cuff. They can do that and can disrupt Warrington's defensive line. So can Warrington get back to that defensive resilience in order to stop that? The one thing that I will say, obviously you always need to be clean with your discipline and your errors. You keep your errors low and your discipline to an absolute max. The one thing that kills Warrington, and I think most Wire fans will agree with me on this one, the one thing that kills Warrington is speed. And that feels weird to say because we've got Dufty, Ashton, Thulis is not as quick, but Wrench, we've got quick players. But when we're defending and the attack has speed, we have no idea what to do. No clue. Leigh last year when they were quick, no plan. Salford when they were quick last season and this season, no plan. Catalans were the same. Quick teams in attack kill Warrington every single time. Doesn't matter about them beating themselves up with errors and lack of discipline. As long as Huddersfield come with speed, they should be fine in this game. Because Warrington right now are not looking good. I do think Warrington will be fine. Defensively, they are strong enough, 4th best in the league. Attacking, strong enough, 4th best in the league as well. Huddersfield, too inconsistent, but they can make it a challenge as long as they come with speed, which I think at times they do seriously lack with Connor, Clune, and Lollahea in the spine anyway. So we'll have to see. if Huddersfield can rise up to that occasion. They have dropped down the last couple of weeks. They've been really, really poor. Only one win in the last 5. But Warrington, I think, just got enough individually to get it done, especially in the forwards and in the spine. I do think if Ashton's missing, it'd probably be Wrench on the left wing. If not, it'll be one of the kids from the game against Wigan. Maybe Lindop. I can't remember who the left winger was for that game. But yeah, I think Warrington should just be fine based on individual performances. But I think will be a tricky one because Huddersfield can be a bogey team. So I'm going to go with Warrington Wolves 24, Huddersfield Giants 14. Next up, we have Leeds Rhinos taking on London Broncos. Starting with league position, Leeds are in 7th, London in 12th. For recent form, Leeds have won 2 in their last 5 games. London has won 1 in their last 5 games. For my power rankings, I have Leeds in 8th, London in 12th. For player availability, Ackers, Hanley, Newman, Lissoni and Holroyd all expected to be available for selection, but of course we will see with the team list. On the side of London, Parata and Campagnolo are both to be confirmed, so we'll wait and see for them as well. Oh my god. Leeds, that defensive display, I already talked about this in my power rankings video. The defensive resilience from Leeds was excellent, absolutely excellent. If they keep that up, I would find it very difficult for London to put up any points again this week. Now, this could be the kind of game where they don't bring in Ackers, Hanley, Newman, Lissoni and Holroyd. Just give them an extra week off. Like, there's 2 ways of looking at it. They give them the extra week off because they probably don't need to rely on having those guys in. Or maybe Lissoni starts on the bench, maybe Holroyd does, and you just give them a couple minutes here and there. Maybe Ackers is the hooker off the bench. You just sort of bed them in with a couple minutes and you don't aggravate anything because you really need those guys long term. Because Leeds, right now, they're in that fight for playoffs. So with them, I'm not too sure if they're all going to feature. Some might still have nagging injuries, so they just won't play at all. For me, I probably would put Ackers, Lissoni, Holroyd on the bench. Don't worry about Hanley and Newman. You're okay with what you've got at the moment, I think, against this London side. Just don't aggravate anything. Just bed people back in slowly. That's what I'd do, but I'm not the coach, obviously. London, they just, again, as normal, just need to get the basics right every week, and at some point teams will slip up. They don't have the pace in the middle of the park. They don't have the pace or right timing, decision making on the edges. Leeds have looked a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, and I think will continue to flourish with a new leader. I can't remember his name. I do apologise, but just with a new voice leading things, sometimes that can help shift the culture and just change the whole feel around the place. I think Leeds will be pretty comfortable in this game. So I'm going to go with Leeds Rhinos 32, London Broncos 6. Next up, we have Hull Kingston Rovers versus Catalans Dragons, starting with league position. Hull KR sit in 3rd, Catalans are in 6th. For recent form, Hull KR have won 4 in their last 5, Catalans have won 2 in their last 5, and for my power rankings, I have Hull KR in 3rd, Catalans in 7th. For player availability, Whitbread and Parcell are both to be confirmed this week, and Gildart is expected to be available for selection. For Catalans, McMeekin is out for a good few weeks or months, and Matu, Zenon and Sims all to be confirmed for Catalans. I think of those 3, I think Sims is more likely to be confirmed this week, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure exactly, I can't remember what it is his injury was, so he could be a few weeks anyway, we'll see. Hull KR were not perfect against Catalans. It was a tough game. I didn't like how flat they were in attack a lot of the times and very one-dimensional. Against Catalans, you can't really do that, because even though they've been inconsistent, you can't play a flat style against Catalans and not expect to be shut down. Because defensively, typically, they are a strong team. They're coached very well. And even though they're a bit inconsistent, like Huddersfield, for example, I trust Catalans more to find the consistency or to find the right level. Especially for a pretty big game like this, actually. I think the fact that Hull KR is at home is helpful. They tend to be more expansive, tend to be more creative, and sort of play up to the game when they're at home. So I think home advantage will be pretty big for this one. Catalans, again, defensively, will make it tricky for Hull KR, but I see this being a pretty back and forth game. Nothing too crazy in terms of points. I think it'll be relatively low scoring to what we've seen so far this season, but I think Hull KR, I think that performance against Castleford would probably teach him a few things. and wouldn't humble them. What's the word I'm looking for? It would maybe just, I'll give them a second to step back and think, right, well, what are we doing? Because we shouldn't be struggling in a game like that. And just allow them to go back to basics. I think Mikey Lewis needs to be a little bit more calm under certain situations. Get back to what they do well, which is spreading the ball around, like chucking the ball around left, right and centre, and really punching holes through the middle. And if they can do that, they'll come up with a win. Catalans can make it interesting, but I think Hull Chaos should be fine. So I'm going to go with Hull Kingston Rovers 20, Catalans Dragons 16. Finally for this round, we have Salford Red Devils taking on Hull FC, starting with league position. Salford are in 5th, Hull FC are in 11th. For recent form, Salford have won 3 in their last 5, Hull have won 1 in their last 5, and for power rankings, I have Salford in 4th, Hull FC in 11th. For player availability, Cust and Laffey both to be confirmed and when they'll be available, and Briley is expected to be available for selection. For Hull FC, Sow is to be confirmed and Houghton is expected to be available. So, Hull FC put in a pretty decent effort against Warrington. There was good energy. That's the same word I've been using for the past couple of weeks, that their energy has been good. Salford, as I mentioned in my power rankings video, are sort of, they play up to occasions, but maybe don't match the occasions when it's against. Or they play up to an occasion and match it, but when it's against a lower team, it's just like it's just a regular game. So that's my only issue with Salford, but I think they should still be okay in this fixture. No complaints there. I think Hull are finding ways to put up points. Truman is a much welcomed addition to their side. I think Moy will continue to improve week in, week out. If Houghton's available, that gives them a lot of structure, a lot of calmness, good leadership in the middle of the pack as well. Salford, though, should be fine. There's been other fixtures this season, especially against Castleford, where they should have been fine, and they weren't. So, look, imagining this from a typical game, Salford should put up a decent number of points. The way that they spread the ball, defensively they're also looking really solid as well for the most part. The controlling games, usually because of Mark Sneed, that's what he does. And I think, I'm not sure where Briley fits in, because Hankinson, I think it's Hankinson, has done a pretty solid job at number 1. Do you want to drop him? I don't know if you do, but you want to put Ryan Briley in there. So I think it was Atkin who was playing number 6 last week. So you could play Briley at number 6. He's used to playing in the halves. You could play Briley at 6 and then Atkin, I think, is a hooker. So he's just the hooker off the bench or starts at 9. I would try and get Briley in there somewhere, but I don't want Salford to disrupt too much of what they've had, because they've probably found themselves with a nice rhythm, and they don't want to disrupt it too much just by shoehorning Briley in there if he doesn't need to go in. Again, with Hull, it's just about energy. Can they make the game tricky for Salford? Can they find some 40-20s? Can they just complete at a high rate? They made too many errors against Warrington, obviously not as much as Warrington did, but if they can limit the number of errors, keep the discipline strong, complete at a high rate, kick well, chase well, they can put Salford under pressure, because Salford are not immune from disaster performances. But Salford, again, should be fine. It's gone really weird with Salford this season, so I'm just cautious. But Salford, you should be fine. You understand? You should be fine. So I'm going to go with Salford Red Devils 28, Hull FC 10. So that is going to be it for my Super League Round 16 predictions. If you've got your own predictions, do let me know in the comments down below, or let me know how you got on last week. But that is going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.